Week 17 of the NFL. It's almost as good as Christmas. Cole Sports presents on the Daily. Well, welcome to the first edition of the 2021's version of On the Daily. Cole Johnson's right here, live in living color on the Daily's on Tap, presented by Cole Sports. And subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well if you want to be up to date on all things in the sports world Monday through Friday. It's just that simple. If you want to be up on the know in your house, your church, your work, or wherever you congregate with people, Cole Sports on the Daily is where you can do that. Well, this is Monday, and you know how we do on Monday. We just got off of the finish, the climax, the end of Week 17's NFL and the regular season in the NFL for 2020. And I just want to reflect on Week 17 by itself, not this past Week 17, but just Week 17 in general. Because there's a lot of nuggets that you take away from it. And those nuggets are what I'm going to talk about in this installment of The List. And so I got to thinking, NFL Week 17, it's a great time just to think about a sport that puts on a platform in the regular season that isn't quite playoffs worthy or Super Bowl worthy, but they put on the greatest presentation of a regular season finale that any sport does. Any sport. And I mean, in Major League Baseball, even with them, because you got the playoffs where you have the wild card playing, that's considered playoffs. The only thing that it might top Week 17 in NFL probably would be like game 163 for Major League Baseball. That's probably the only thing that could top it. The NBA is trying to do something like that with a round robin that they tried out in the bubble this past year. And I think the NHL is leaning toward doing that too. But the NFL has it right. And for what my takes are for this year's Week 17, wrong finger. Catch the premiere episodes of 2 Minute Warning as I break down a few of the most important games of Week 17 in 2020's regular season of the NFL. But I just want to talk about Week 17 in NFL in general and the reason why I think it is great. In fact, I'll give you 5 reasons as to why I think the NFL's Week 17 is one of the greatest things in the sports calendar year. Number 1, all 16 games are divisional matchups. You don't get that at any point in the season in the NFL. You get that in Week 17. And why is that important? Well, you might have a division up for grabs. You might have 2, you might have 3, you might have 4. One of these years, we might have all 6. And it may come down to a game that will be for all the marbles in the division. Now, this year, we don't have 2 teams that are battling for the division like how I will talk about one of these games later on. Like if 2 teams were going for the division, they win, they clinch, and if they lose, they're out. We didn't have that this past year, and we did have that last year, but both teams were in the playoffs, so it wasn't a de facto playoff game per se. So having 16 divisional matchups, it's a great thing, and I think it's one of the greatest things that the NFL came up with in the recent tweaking of the game, because now it makes the divisions truly matter. And I think that was one of the greatest things that Roger Goodell, yes, I'll give him props here, did. So yeah, the first reason why Week 17 in the NFL is a great thing, all divisional matchups. Number two on that list of reasons as to why the NFL's Week 17 is a great thing in the sports calendar, all the games are on Sunday. That's right. No Thursday night, no Monday night, no Saturday afternoon or night football. No, Week 17, it all takes place on Sunday. That's right. From 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff all the way to the 8:20-ish p.m. Eastern kickoff, all Sunday long is littered with football. And it sort of gets you primed up, and it's going to get us primed up now for the wild card weekend that we're going to have this weekend, where we'll have 3 games on Saturday and 3 games on Sunday. And I'm assuming one kickoff is going to be early afternoon, one kickoff is going to be late afternoon, and one kickoff is going to be like 8:20. So, for instance, probably the first kickoff would be 1. Second kickoff would be 4:20, 4:15, 4:30 maybe. So it may be that. This week gets you geared up for that. And it whets your appetite for the playoffs to come, actually, the following 3 weeks of football in the playoffs. And it just gets better and better and better. And this doesn't need to be diluted on any other day of the week. This doesn't need to be played on a Thursday or a Saturday or a Monday. It needs to take place on Sunday. So, yeah, second reason, all games on Sunday. The third reason why the NFL's Week 17 is a wonderful thing in the sports calendar year, storylines all over the place. I mean, just think about yesterday's games. I mean, you had the NFC East that was going to basically eliminate one or the other between the Cowboys and the Giants. And then whoever won that game had to wait for the Washington football team, go on the road to Philly, and see if their fate was going to be favorable in that the Eagles were going to beat them, or if WTF was going to beat them. WFT, I'm sorry, was going to beat them. That's one storyline. Another storyline, the Titans and the Colts, they were battling for the AFC South Championship. And of course, it was simple. The Titans needed to beat Houston to win. And if they didn't, the Jaguars needed to beat the Colts for the Titans to get in. And if the Texans beat the Titans and the Colts beat the Jaguars, the Colts would have been the AFC South champs. It's those types of storylines. Or you had the Cardinals and the Rams play, and it basically was essentially an elimination game. Whoever won the game was in the playoffs. Whoever lost the game pretty much was eliminated from it. And you follow it all day long. And of course, the log jam that was the AFC wildcard situation between the Colts, Ravens, Dolphins, and Browns all played itself out. You know, it's all, all wild card berths that still are up for grabs, divisional championships like the NFC East that's still up for grabs, playoff seedings because you got the Bills. You had the Bills and the Steelers battling for the number 2 seed. And of course, you had the Packers, Saints, and Seahawks battling for home field in the NFC. And then that now precious bye for the first time, because there's only one bye for each conference. All those storylines make for a rich viewing experience. Whether your team is doing well, whether your team is out the playoffs, or whether your team has things sewn and locked up, or if your team is like the aforementioned Ravens, Colts, Dolphins, and Colts, Ravens, Colts, Dolphins. I'm sorry, and Browns, where they have to hope that it breaks right for them, whether they win their game and they're in, or they lose and someone else helps them win. It's an exciting time because it almost feels like a playoff moment, but you're still in the regular season and the storylines are rich. And I'll tell you the biggest part of that storyline later. in the video. Number four, the fourth reason why the NFL in week 17 is a wonderful thing on the sports calendar. You have a monumental winner and a monumental loser. Now, I can think of one in the recent past, actually, that best describes what I mean. Week 17, this was actually New Year's Eve. So we didn't have what I'm going to talk about for the fifth reason happen because NBC did not want to do that game with its 8:20 p.m. kickoff. So it was New Year's Eve. You had the Dolphins hosting the Bills. The Bills needed to win and get help. The Ravens hosted the Bengals, and all the Ravens needed to do was win. And they were in, and they would eliminate the Bills with their win. And I think it was earlier that year the Ravens beat the Bills. So you had the Bills in their game earlier, and they both had the same kickoff. It was 4:25 p.m. The Bills, they beat the Dolphins 22-16, and then they went into Hard Rock Stadium's locker room and huddled together and watched with bated breath the Bengals-Ravens game at M&T Bank Stadium, and it wasn't looking so good. The Ravens were up 27-24. The Bengals had the ball, and they got them to a 4th and 12 at the Ravens 49. So you're thinking, okay, well, there's no way that the Bengals would convert on a 4th down and long. And they're easily going to think, okay, well, it's a pass, and they're going to try a 15-yard route. They'll probably, the Ravens will probably defend that, right? Well, turns out that Dalton threw a completion to Tyler Boyd that turned into a touchdown. And I never heard a stadium go from extremely loud to extremely silent so fast. Well, the Bengals won that game 31-27. They eliminated the Ravens, and that win propelled the Bills to the first playoff appearance in then 18 years, because the last time they were in the playoffs was 1999 until then. And another good part of week 17 is you see, I guess you could say, partners in in helping teams one another get to the playoffs. So the Bills gave the Bengals thank you wings, probably buffalo wings, as a we appreciate your help in getting us to the playoffs. See, it's those types of stories. You know, you feel good for the Bills and you feel bad for the Ravens when they were 1 minute away from being in the playoffs and they saw their season disintegrate right before their very eyes before the end of that game. And then the number 5 reason why week 17 in the NFL is absolutely awesome. Game number 256. When NBC took on Sunday Night Football and they decided to flex, or they decided to get in cahoots with the Shield and change games that are a little more favorable to the national audience, this added an extra layer of importance to this particular week. Now, why is it 256? Well, you have 16 games every week, and until next year, I believe, you have 16 weeks to play those 16 games. We'll do the math. 16 games times 16 weeks, that's 256 games. Well, you have 255 of them that they have importance, obviously, but game number 256, other than possibly a divisional game between two rivals that took place before then, the only games that mean more to any team in the NFL would be any playoff game or the Super Bowl. In the regular season, to me, other than that possible scenario, it gets no better. It gets no more pressure packed, and it gets no more enriched in storyline than that. I mean, just think about 2010, 2011, 2012. And I know for anybody who is an anti-Cowboys fan, you will love it, because in 2010, the Cowboys were hoping for a divisional crown, and got summarily destroyed by the Eagles. In 2011, they were hoping for that divisional crown, and they got thumped by the Giants. And then 2012, they went to the not the Meadowlands, I'm sorry. They went to Landover, or I should say the DC. They battled the Washington NFL franchise, and that game was nip and tuck, but a harmless fourth down incompletion with about 1 minute to go in that game had 90,000 strong at FedEx Field singing hail to the name I'm not ever going to mention on this air. So yeah, this was game 256 was at times an NFC East divisional crown showdown showcase. But you had other good games too. One of them last year, actually, between the Seahawks hosting the 49ers, where both teams already were in the playoffs, but the NFC West was on the line. And if the Seahawks won, they would be the number 2 seed. If the 49ers won, they'd be the number 1 seed. And that game came down literally 2 inches. The 49ers won that game 26-21. They took the number 1 seed, and they then took the George Halas Trophy in being the NFC champs. But that's the action that I'm talking about. You get playoff exhilaration in the regular season, and you don't get that at any other point in the season than here, than week 17. And the 5 reasons as to why I believe this is one of the best things to ever see on the sports calendar. All 16 games are divisional matchups. They all take place on Sunday. You got storylines all over the place, from the 1 p.m. kickoffs to the 8:20 p.m. kickoffs. It's just storyline after storyline. Almost every game has a storyline. Almost every game. And on that day, you have a monumental winner, and you have a monumental loser. And of course, you got the game that means the most in the regular season, other than if it's 2 teams that are battling for the championship of that division, and that happens to take place before week 17, game 256. Well, that's what I believe is absolutely awesome about week 17 in NFL. I can think of many things that they got wrong, but this is the one thing the NFL got right. Thank you, Shield, for getting this on the money. Now, if you want this shirt that you see right before your very eyes, the description box below has all the details as to where to find it and the many styles in which you can get it. You can get a short sleeve shirt, a long sleeve shirt, a hoodie, or any other type of apparel that you would want or desire. And give me a week 17 game that stuck with you. Which week 17 game? It could be this year, it could be last year, it could be any of these past years. Which week 17 game means a lot to you? It could be one that kicked off at 1, one that kicked off at 4:30, one that kicked off that was game 256, whichever. Like this video and share throughout your social media. Comment below because I love to hear what you have to say, VIP. Your comments mean the world to me. Don't forget, hit that notification bell and subscribe to this channel for any and all content that emanates from here. Well, I hope your new year started off great. Mine did as well. And VIP 2021 is going to be great, as we saw yesterday with the NFL. For all of us here at Cole Sports, I'm Cole Johnson, and this has been yet another installment of Cole Sports on the visual and on the daily.